Good day everyone, I'm Abigail Camacho, the leader of Group 2, and the topic that was assigned to us is all about logical equivalence and loss. So here's the sequence of our presentation. Then ito naman yung task na na-assign sa amin. Now let's proceed to the next reporter na si Destiny Duay.
Everyone, my name is Destiny Duay and explain ko muna sa inyo yung symbols na ginagamit sa bawat expression bago tayo mag-proceed sa given. Number 1 is code negation or not, which means opposite of the given. Number 2 is code conjunction or not, which means both must be true para maging true yung output niya. Number 3 is code disjunction or which means at least may one true para maging true ang magiging output. Number 4 is code application, example P and Q. Ganito ang basa dyan. If P then Q, if medyo naguguluhan po kayo, ipapaliwanag na lang ng mga next speakers yung tamang paggamit ng mga ito. So sa ngayon, ipapakilala ko na sa inyo yung next reporter na si Paulo Tobey. Thank you.
Hello, good day everyone. I'm Paulo Tobeo. Since Destiny Duay already discussed the symbols, Genesis and I will now teach you how to get the outputs for first expression. There are two given expressions, P or Q and not R. We can call this expression A and expression B. But before anything else, we need to determine the values of P, Q, and R. So what are P, Q, and R? These are propositional variables that represent statements which can be either be true or false. So how do we get the values of these variables? Here's the complete truth tables for all possible combinations of P, Q, and R. How are these values generated? P changes every 4 rows, Q changes every 2 rows, R changes every row. This is the basic truth table. Now that we've determined the values of P, Q, and R, let's move on to solving the first expression. Let's start with the expression inside the parentheses, P or Q. Let's focus on P or Q. Here's the truth table for P or Q. Now what is the rule when using OR? At least one input is true, the output will be true. Now that we've found the values for the expressions inside the parentheses in the first question, let's proceed to not R, which will be discussed by Genesis Kabawatan. So, thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Genesis Kabawatan and I will be discuss not and condition. So, first I will be discuss not condition. So, ano nga ba yung not condition? Yung not condition is opposite lang siya ng true or false. So, para mas maintindihan natin lahat, meron ako ditong truth table. Sa truth table, meron ako ditong 2 column. Sa first column is yung R and then sa second column is yung not R. So, sa first column, may makikita tayo dyan true. Ano nga ba yung opposite ng true? Is false. So, makikita natin yung false dun sa may not R. And the next, meron tayo makikita din sa may first column is false. So, ano ba yung opposite ng false? Is true. Makikita natin yung true dun sa may not R. So, ganun lang natin ginagamit yung not condition. Bali, opposite lang siya ng true at false. Sana naintindihan yung lahat. And next, I will be discuss and condition. So, ano nga ba yung uncondition? So, bago yun, meron ako ditong truth table. Sa truth table, may tatlo ko dyang column, which is yung P or Q, and then sa second column is yung not R, and then sa final value is yung P or Q and not R. So, paano ba natin makukuha yung final value? So, bago natin makuha yung final value, meron tayong condition sa AND. Yung condition natin sa AND, dapat parehas true para yung final value is true. if yung isa sa kanila is mag-false, yung final value natin is magiging false. So, meron tayo dito sa may first column is true. And the second column is may false. So, may nakita tayong false. Bali, yung final value natin is magiging false since nakita tayo sa second column ng false. So, ito pa yung another example. Sa first column is may true. And then sa second column is true. So, parehas silang true. Kaya ang magiging final value is true. Kasi nga, parehas silang true. So, that's all for my part. And I hope you learned something about my report. And thank you so much for listening.
At yan, nakuha na natin lahat ng values ng first expression. Ngayon, i-discuss naman nila Abigail Camacho and Angelita Fondal yung second expression. Hello everyone, my name is Abigail Camacho and now I will be introducing to you the second expression that was given to us. So, based na nakikita nyo sa screen, mapapansin nyo naman na may panibagong symbol na ginamit. So, ano nga bang tawag dyan? Ang tawag sa symbol na yan is implication. And next, paano siya gamitin or what rule should be followed when using this symbol?
Wake up!
Just what I said earlier, if we use this symbol, we read it as if P then Q. So it's like this. If the first input or P is true, then the second input or Q must also be true for the output to be true as well. But if the first input or P is false, the output will always be true kahit anumang kinalabasan ng second output, whether it is true or false. For example, I'll give two conditions. The first one is you studied, which is equivalent to T. Then next, you passed the exam, equivalent din siya sa T. So, yung magiging output niya is T kasi nag-aral ka, then nakapasa ka sa exam. So, meron siyang positive effect. Next, you studied, equivalent sa T. Kaso, you failed the exam. So, yung magiging output niya is false because the promise had been kept but still bumagsak ka. Next, you didn't study. Equivalent siya sa false. Pero, nakapasa ka pa rin sa exam. Na equivalent siya sa true. So, yung output niya is true even though hindi ka nag-review, nakapasa ka pa rin. Then, last one, you didn't study. Equivalent siya sa F. Then, you failed the exam. So, ang magiging output niya is true. Kasi, or like automatically considered true in logic. Not because it happened, but because the condition didn't occur in the first place. So, hindi ka kasi nag-aral. So, walang nangyaring, or like hindi nag-work yung first condition. Kaya kahit sa second condition mag-work man ito or hindi, maging true or false man ito, automatically magiging true yung output. So, technically, P is the condition that must happen first, then Q is the result that happens if the promise is kept. If nangyari yung first condition, then yung second condition hindi, then the promise is broken. But, if both conditions didn't happen, in logic, di pa rin yung magiging output niya because the condition never existed at all. Let's proceed to the second expression. As you can see, medyo malilito kayo sa kung anong uunahin i-identify ng mga values. But if we go back to our high school days, we should always solve the problem inside the parenthesis first bago i-solve yung complicated terms. Kaya ganun din yung gagawin natin using the implication symbol. Let's go with the first parenthesis. We read it as if P, then Q. So, T and T, ang magiging output niya is T. Next, ganun din, T and T, magiging output is T. Then, T and F, magiging output naman niya is F, and so on. Then next, the second parenthesis. We read it as if Q, then R. So, T and T, magiging output niya is T. T and F, magiging output niya is F. F and T, magiging output niya is T. F and F, magiging output niya is T. And so forth. Next naman, the third and last parenthesis. We read it as P. If P, then R. So, T and T, magiging output niya is T. T and F, magiging output niya is F. Then, T and T, magiging output niya is T. Then, T and F, magiging output niya is F. And so on. Bale, same lang siya sa mga naunang parenthesis. Parang pinagkakasunod-sunod lang natin yung sequence niya bago alamin yung values ng bawat isa. Now that nakuha na natin lahat ng output in each parenthesis, I will introduce to you Mr. Angelito Fundal to continue what I've been discussing.
Hello, ako po si Angelito Fundal, and let us proceed to solve the final result for this expression. Since nakuha na natin ang values ng P implies Q, Q implies R, at P implies R, i-determine naman natin ang final value or result ng buong expression. So first, P implies Q and Q implies R. Since may given na tayong answer sa dalawang statement na to, for P implies Q which is true, at Q implies R which is true pa rin, sa napapansin nyo, meron siyang symbol sa pagitan ng dalawang statements, which is the AND symbol. At gaya nga ng sabi ni Miss Duay na sa AND, both values must be true para maging true yung output niya. So since pareho namang true yung value natin dito, ang magiging output natin dito is true. So paano naman pag may false value sa mga statement natin? Magiging automatic false ang value ng statement na to kasi kailangan parehong true ang value para maging true rin ang output dahil sa AND. So proceed tayo sa final statement na if P implies Q and Q implies R, then P implies R. Meron na tayong value para sa P implies Q and Q implies R which is true, at P implies R which is true then. Ang ginamit dito sa final statement is implication, which means if the first input is true, then the second input must also be true for the output to be true. So, ang value nga ng dalawang statement natin is parehong true, which means ang magiging final value natin sa expression na to is also true. Sa nakikita nyo sa table, nakalist ang mga possible na values ng mga statements natin, pero true pa rin ang mga final result nito. Ito ay tinatawag na tautology. Ibig sabihin ay true sa lahat ng posibleng truth values ng P, Q, at R. In other words, laging true ang final result o value nito. And now for our final conclusion. After we identified the final results or values of our two expressions, we can now conclude whether the two expressions are logically equivalent. Now, what is logical equivalence? Logical equivalence means that two logical statements have the same truth value in every possible case, whether that value is true or false. Matatawag lang ang dalawang statements na logically equivalent kung magkapareho ang truth value nila in every possible combinations. And from the truth table below, makikita nyo ang final results or values ng expressions natin at hindi nga sila magkatugma, which concludes na ang dalawang expressions natin are not logically equivalent. And now, just to summarize our topic, we have discussed on how to use symbols like not, and, or, at implication. Ginamit natin ang mga ito para ma-determine kung ano-ano ang mga truth values ng dalawang expressions natin. Gumamit tayo ng truth tables para ma-identify ang lahat ng possible combinations ng expressions natin. And lastly, we were able to determine that our two expressions are not logically equivalent. And it is also important to remember that the truth values are the foundation of logical reasoning dahil dito nakadepende lahat ng logical expressions. Ginagamit natin ito para matest kung tama o mali ang isang statement at ginagamit din ito para makagawa ng truth table para makita ang lahat ng possible situations and many more. And that is all for our summary and takeaways. I hope you all learned a lot about our topic and thank you for listening.